When we think of countries famous for making cars, the list is actually quite long. Many countries have been home to successful automotive companies. But when you try to think of countries famous for making performance cars, that list begins to shrink. Those that may immediately come to mind might be Italy, Germany, Sweden, etc. I'd bet that Belgium makes it onto neither list for, well, anyone. Not unless you're Belgian anyway. Hello to any Belgian viewers, thanks for stopping by. That could be to do with the fact that very few cars come out of Belgium. Except that isn't true at all. I've got a Belgian government business report here that says in 2008, granted it was a little while ago, but it's what I've got, 724,498 vehicles were produced in Belgium. I believe the business term for that is a ton. So why are we not all driving Belgian cars? Well, you might be, if you drive an Opel, Audi, Volvo or Ford, but of course none of these are actually Belgian companies. It would appear that despite being a huge vehicle manufacturer and exporter, Belgium is home to very few homegrown car companies, and certainly none you've ever heard of. Except maybe Gillet. Gillet is a Belgian car manufacturer known almost exclusively for the Vertigo, an odd-looking sports car that Gillet describes as a, quote, supercar and work of art pure pleasure. Yeah, that's taken straight from the website. Speaking of, their website is pretty sparse. But I suppose that's to be expected. They only make one car. But do they? Well, yes they do, but that's not quite the whole story. Gillet seems to have focused their business around collaboration with other companies in the industry. Yes, they work with clients to build the Vertigo. Each car is built to order. But they've also done semi-bespoke work for companies including Alfa Romeo and the famous Zagato design house. In fact, perhaps there is an argument to be made that Belgium's most famous car is actually the 2010 Alfa Romeo TZ3 Corsa. Alfa Romeo handed development of the TZ3 Corsa to Zagato, and Zagato, being primarily a design house, needed to source everything that wasn't made of leather or red paint. So they approached Gillet. Of course, given that Gillet make just one car, what Zagato received back was in fact the engine and the chassis from a Vertigo, a car originally developed in 1992. And so as simply as that, the Gillet Vertigo found itself as the backbone and the heart of one of the rarest Italian flagships of the century. Even to me, a person who knew a little bit about the TZ3 Corsa before making this video, this seemed surprising. Most of the coverage at the time drew comparison between it and the comparably mass-market 8C, with many outlets claiming that it was in fact a rebodied 8C, which, let's be honest, would make a hell of a lot more sense. But no, under the skin it was indeed a Vertigo. Another Italian rarity based on the Vertigo is the Zagato Mostro, a tribute to Maserati on their centenary. Like the TZ3 Corsa, the Mostro used both the engine and chassis from the Vertigo. Clearly Zagato have a bit of a soft spot for them. What I find interesting about these examples is there's truly no coverage of Gillet's involvement in these iconic projects. While reading an article on Top Gear about the Mostro, they suggested that the chassis actually came from McLaren, but that they couldn't confirm this. I don't know how they got that, and I don't know why they wrote it. Lazy writing? Maybe, I've got no idea. What I do know is it's a damn good job Gillet wasn't hired to design the bodies of those cars as well. While the Mostro may have taken some inspiration from the Vertigo in terms of its exterior design, they made sure to make it look nice. The Vertigo in all its iterations looks, to my eye at least, pretty hideous. That being said, the car has been around and available to order, apparently, for over 30 years. So there must be some people who don't care what it looks like and just want one for its performance, or more likely, given the fact it's a rare bespoke road car, its rarity. While it may not be a thing of beauty from the outside, the car does have quite the engine. The newest incarnation of the car, post-2011, uses a Ferrari-derived 4.2-litre V8 from Maserati, producing just over 420 brake horsepower, giving it around 430-ish brake horsepower per tonne. Of course, as anyone who has heard about this car before today knows, this car wasn't famous as a rare road car. or as the backbone to some Italian museum piece, but as a race car. Just a quick warning, information about this car is sparse and much of it is incomplete. Some of the race history information comes from Gillet's website, which seems to have been run through Google Translate, and a Wikipedia article wherein the entire racing section is totally unreferenced. There are a couple of decrepit websites offering tables of race data, but none of them have any data for the years in which Gillet claims to have won. So enough of that, how well did it do? Well, if you ask Gillet, very, very well. The Vertigo is a triple FIA GT World Champion, winning in Class G2 in 2006, 2007 and in 2008. For a car to have been racing for 14 years before achieving its first win, the team at Gillet must have been pretty set on making it work. So impressively, they did. Though I have seen it suggested that the G2 class the car won in for those 3 years wasn't particularly popular, by which I mean Gillet ran in the class by themselves, which paints their claims of world champion in a slightly different light. I will say, this has proven difficult to fact check either way, with information being spotty. It's likely that the Vertigo ran in the G2 class because for whatever reason it couldn't qualify for the GT classes. Probably something to do with homologation. The unreferenced Wikipedia article offers very little extra information for us here, but it does say that for all those 3 years that Gillet claims to have won, it entered the 24 Hours of Spa, and failed to finish every single time. So what on earth was the Gillet Vertigo? Well, in all likelihood, the Vertigo was a Dongervoort-esque vehicle, with Tony Gillet starting his business by importing Lotus 7s. I can't confirm for certain that the Vertigo is derived from this platform, but let's be real, it's pretty likely. The Vertigo has existed through many iterations, but as with so much of the information around this car, I can't verify everything that I'm about to say, so take it with a grain of salt. What I know is that the most recent generation, the 5, is ostensibly available to buy, and should be pretty similar to the car that raced in the late 2000s. It boasts a 4.2 litre Maserati V8 and a carbon fibre honeycomb chassis apparently. Whether you could actually order one of these in practice, I have no idea. If you know any more than I do, I'd love to hear about it in the comments section. The previous generation of the car, presumably called the Vertigo 4, was outfitted with an Alfa Romeo derived V6, and the very earliest cars, this car has been around since the early 1990s, were powered by a 2-litre inline 4-cylinder Cosworth engine. If you've stuck with me to this point, you might be wondering how I can claim that this deeply obscure car that seemingly nobody knows anything about can possibly be Belgium's most famous car. If that's you, you mustn't have played Gran Turismo, because Gran Turismo is why this car's famous, particularly thanks to its prevalence in Gran Turismo 3 and 4, much like this. Watch my video about the Peugeot Esperante GTR1 on screen now. Leave a like if you enjoyed today's video. And until next time, goodbye.